For today's distance Reiki session, we are going to be focusing on one of your lovely comments. Actually, I think this was a message on Patreon. I know it was, actually. But I thought this would be sort of a fun one and something that I think we can all really benefit from in terms of inviting alignment and balance. And that is with this theme of kind of balancing our spirit of competition. I could also say aligning our competitive spirit. I think if you have trouble with jealousy or envy, this could be helpful for that as well. I'm going to use my selenite wand to start off this session with a little bit of clearing. And then we'll begin. So if you're new here, welcome. My name is Anna. I'm a Reiki Master Practitioner. I love ASMR. And I think the two pair really well together. I think this kind of relaxed, stress-free zone is really a nice foundation for beginning this kind of energy work. So, there we have it. Welcome. Thank you for all your incredible comments. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking my videos and supporting my channel in really any way. I just can't tell you how much it means to me. It really means so much. So we're going to start at the crown and we're going to move our way down. Now, for this session, the idea is going to be really about doing our very best to start to bring some awareness in when it comes to competition. There's nothing wrong with competition. In fact, I think competition can kind of bring out our creativity, can sometimes highlight our collaborative efforts, highlight collaboration. Necessity is the mother of invention, and all of that can be really helpful when you do have that, when the adrenaline kicks in, you're feeling really competitive. This is, the Dalai Lama talks about this association between that competitive spirit and the state of Zen. Not necessarily in terms of the competition aspect, but more so what the competition can bring out in people. Sometimes it talks about soccer players, football players, who are able to kind of perform and imagine, then afterwards they kind of say, I don't really know, I just got in the zone. I don't really know how to explain how I did this incredible thing. I was just in the zone, kind of comparing that to this Zen meditation, where we can arrive when we practice meditation and we're able to find that zone, the Zen zone. So there are many benefits to competition. I think it can teach us a lot of social skills. And if we're open to it, I think it can teach us how to gracefully fail, and how to learn from that and see all of our failures as beautiful steps in a journey toward success, fulfillment, all of that, a happy life, self-improvement. So I want to start off just by saying that I think competition isn't always bad. But likewise, I don't think it's always the healthiest thing in the world, and I think the difference very often is just you, how you're able to kind of sit with it, move through it. Are you recognizing that when you're engaging in even kind of playful, light competition, you feel very like unfulfilled or unsatisfied? If you're not winning, or if you're not on the winning team, or if you're not maybe being validated. I mean, everybody likes to be told that they did a good job. Most people. But I've learned not to say everybody, right? Because there's always exceptions, but most of us. But it's, it's when we start to kind of, when there's a compulsive need to win or be validated. And the way to recognize when that's happening is just to gently invite in some self-awareness. And I think for this, we really want to start with compassion. Really want to start with some compassion for ourselves. Because very often the reason that we have this is just that it was developed as a coping mechanism. So there's no judgment about maybe a more competitive spirit. It's raining outside if you can hear that. Outside, in here. But, it's just something that if we want to find a little bit more balance, I think it's available. I think it's definitely available to all of us to be able to balance that. Okay. So I'm going to light our candle, and we're going to start off by setting our intention. So for some of us, this kind of self-reflection and this sort of recognizing how we feel, where competition sits with us, how we feel about ourselves after a competition. Maybe you just, we talk about this a lot, but maybe we just keep a journal. Keep something where we can really reflect and then look back on these reflections and just start to recognize, oh yeah, actually, I've been in a bad mood after I've lost at something, or I feel better than someone else when I win at something. And I think there are several ways of kind of moving through this, but first kind of checking in, recognizing where we sort of stand with competition. I come from a very competitive family. Come from a family of very athletic people. My whole family, not just my immediate family, although mostly my immediate family. But very competitive, very good at sports and things like that. My family is very kind of into extreme sports, and so for me, there's always been a lot of energy around sport, competition, games, all of that. There's just a lot of energy there. And so when I received this message on Patreon, I was like, yeah, I really think that this is something that we should kind of speak on, because I think very often we're either thrust into very competitive situations, or we are raised in very competitive families, or we have a job that's very competitive. I know many of you have competitive jobs, or kind of creative jobs that are very competitive, maybe not right in your face, but that feel very competitive. Maybe you are professionally, you play sports professionally, or maybe, I think the specific comment was about fantasy football. Just anything that it is that you're kind of moving through. And there was definitely self-awareness with this fantasy football comment. It was so funny. It was just about how, I think it's the comments where like, I swear I'm not trolling. I'm genuinely wanting a session about the spirit of competition when it comes to this, because weirdly this fantasy football season has me like kind of feeling a little bit more stressed than usual. It was a very sweet, really self-aware comment, and it tickled me, made me laugh. But anyway, I think it's really an important thing to balance. So bringing in some self-awareness, bringing in a sense of understanding that your energy being brought into a situation can affect the situation, and also competitive energy can affect you and your energy. And just bringing some awareness to all of that, seeing how you feel after engaging in competitive play or a sport or a game or competition at work. Maybe something that's even like heavier competition at work during a specifically stressful time or something like that. Just taking inventory, taking stock of kind of what's going on with that can be really beneficial. And then I think moving through this, a really important thing is to engage in a ritual once we recognize that maybe we do need a little bit more balance. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. These are our incense matches and sandalwood. Okay. So we have this selenite rose, desert rose, candle. So sweet. So on behalf of your highest, wisest, most empowered and aligned self, in loving comfort and perfect balance, I wish to conduct this distance Reiki session for balancing and aligning any competitive urges, a spirit of competition, and balancing and aligning your energy if you are forced into a competitive environment. So if you'd like to clarify or specify, or maybe even set your own intention for this session, I leave this flame open for you to do so now, as long as it's in service of your and everyone else's wisest, most empowered and aligned self. Here you go. Okay, I'm going to place this here. We're going to let this kind of flicker away throughout our session. But first I'm going to light a little bit of sage. Little bit of sage here. Okay. Gorgeous. So just allow this smoke to kind of clear and cleanse any of this superficial energy that's available to be cleared or cleansed here. Starting kind of in the air around us. And then slowly moving in. Slowly moving in. Clearing and cleansing, clearing and cleansing, clearing and cleansing. So, you could apply this kind of competitive energy to feeling competitive with your peers, or even a sense of sort of envy online, the competition of social media, all of that. You know what that is, that kind of energy that can really take away your sense of self-worth and all of that. Lots of new studies being done on how social media is impacting our mental health and things like that that are pretty interesting to read, which I'm sure you can find in Reiki Help. But it's important just to recognize that competitive energy is really here, and to validate you in that sense of any feeling that you have of like extra anxiety when it comes to competition, or feeling jealous of somebody else's life or career or home or whatever it might be. So we're just clearing here, clearing and cleansing. And I think what I'd like to do now is let's actually do a little bit of our cedar incense, because I think grounding here can be really important. Very important for this competition, this competitive spirit. And as we ground, we can kind of focus as well on some things that we might want to journal about or invite into a further spiritual practice beyond just this video and just this session, which is starting to recognize when we are engaging in these kinds of competitions, or starting to feel a little more competitive than usual. Try our best to write down some positive things about yourself before you start to engage in these. Write down some things that you really resonate with when it comes to that. Like, really, I like to call things like this and this kind of journaling connecting with our pillars of truth. What are your pillars of truth about who you are, how you move through the world? Connect with that. You can start in any way that you'd like. Name 3 things that you know you're good at. Something like that. And this is kind of an easy way to connect with, oh yeah, you know what, I'm pretty cool. It's not always easy. I don't mean to minimize, this quest for belonging and self-acceptance is a long, very windy, treacherous at times road. So it's not easy, but it can be kind of a doorway in. It can kind of unlock this, help us to unlock a connection with our sense of value. So just recognizing what are some things that I bring to the table, that I'm good at, that I'm proud of. What am I grateful for? Is always very grounding, very balancing, very aligning. And then connecting in with, especially if you're engaging in competition with others that are right there with you. Sometimes we have these competitions with people who aren't present. We've talked about that a little bit in the comments. But if you're engaging in some kind of, competitive game, sport, job, whatever it is, write down several things now that the other person is good at, that you admire about the other person or people. And start to engage in a ritual. Maybe place your hands on your heart. Maybe just sit for just a moment before you begin and just say to yourself, I wish that I am able to arrive in this spirit of competition from an aligned place. I set forth to do my best. I wish that my competitors enter into this state of competition from an aligned place. And I hope that they set forth to do their best. And I wish that we all have fun. Above all, I'd like to have fun. To learn and grow and enjoy this process. Because competition at its best is very fun. It's invigorating, can invite creativity. It can also be great fun, as long as we're not too attached to the result. That's true of most things in life, though. So let me just draw these symbols outside of your heart center here. About a foot away from your heart center. Gosh, it smells so good in here. So I think if we can sort of send as much love to whoever we're engaging in this spirit of competition with, send love. Set an intention of acceptance and compassion. Compassion either way, how can you be a kind of graceful winner, and how can you be a happy loser? And I think this takes work. It's not the prettiest process to learn how to invite a sense of grace into an environment where it's not always encouraging of compassion and grace and alignment. Very often we have, people can be out of alignment when the energy is so intense. When these high octane energies. And another session that I'd like to do is very relevant here, which is all about how do you arrive in an aligned place and enter into a space and other people's energies who are out of alignment and maintain that sense of balance. How can you return home and continue to return home within, finding a sense of connection to yourself, to the truth, to these higher vibrational energies like compassion, acceptance, love, gratitude, high vibrational energies. When maybe there's a lot of jealousy or vindictive energy, or when there's this other energy in the space. And I think really that comes down to a lot of work on recognizing that there's nothing you can do to change someone else, and just kind of doing your best to resonate as authentically as you can, to lift yourself up and to send as much love as you can to an individual who might not be sending that love back to you. I think we've all experienced that. It can start with, we're having a great day, we're smiling, we're waving to people, we're high vibing. And then somebody is really rude to us for no reason, it can really affect our energy if we let it. It can really affect our energy. That's a really fine line because, we want to validate our own experience, recognize someone else's energy, set boundaries around that energy. But also we don't want to be kind of pulled into a position of obsessing over an interaction, obsessing over someone else's energy, because I think that's an easy way for that energy to just kind of get stuck in our energy field, our aura, is to have a real, continued internal dialogue with it. And I think very often that can get caught in the throat chakra. Now we're just doing some clearing with the cedar wood. Clearing and grounding. Clearing and grounding. Gorgeous. So what I'd like to do now is start moving through with a few stones. I have some stones here that I would like to use. So we're going to begin with that. So I have these two stones, an amethyst point and this pineapple quartz point, roughly the same size and shape. And these stones, both of them in different ways, are about lifting your vibration, opening up channels to the divine, allowing this divine energy in. This is great for divine inspiration, which I think can be really helpful in competitive situations to kind of connect here. Allow that energy just to come in. Sometimes when we're having a creative block or our self-expression feels blocked, a nice way of clearing those things can be really clearing in the crown, because that can sometimes really allow this flow of energy in. And amethyst is great for that, very spiritually aligned stone. It's a great stone for kind of clarity of mind, a sober mind. It's a great stone for kind of ascending. So any of those very earthly energies that are great for grounding and a sense of protection and all of that. But that sometimes we can get too caught up in this quagmire of the day-to-day, the routine. And this just kind of reminds you that so much exists up here. So much exists above, beyond. So really connecting that and opening a channel here. And then the pineapple quartz. Great, very spiritually aligned stone again. And I like this for just inviting a sense of lightness. This to me feels like a very glimmering, light, fun kind of energy. It doesn't have that same fun as any stones that have to do with the solar plexus. They're connected there. These sunny kind of fun stones, but this is more of like a light, almost, I had a vision of a dragonfly, just something that feels very, a lighting here, a lighting there, just kind of going all around, maybe even a firefly flickering away. So we're coming through, moving down with these stones. Taking this energy from above your head and the crown and just pulling that down. Points, crystal points, you can see, are great for kind of carving out energies. So we're carving a path, almost making a landing strip here from the the top of your head to come in. It's almost like letting this energy in, inviting this energy in, putting almost a target on the top of your head for this divine energy to flow in. Only benevolent energy on behalf of your highest, wisest, most empowered and aligned self is allowed. But once it sees that you're open and ready to receive, it can flow in unencumbered. We're clearing a path. The flow through. Flow through. Gorgeous. Flow through. Flow. Flow, 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 flow. So I'm going to place these stones in your hands, moving in and moving out. So we're really creating a beautiful rhythm here. Inviting the energy in, letting it swirl all around you, and then moving out. Gorgeous. So depending on how you cope with competition, where you are in your journey and what you're moving through in your life, this could be a very fun, very light session, or it could be a more intense session. But I think regardless of how you're moving through this sense of competition, learning and kind of embracing a unity when it comes to our opponents, inviting in a sense of oneness, and that might sound a little kumbaya, but that's kind of how I am. A little kumbaya, a little cheesy from time to time, but really inviting in a sense of love and camaraderie, even if you're competing with someone else. And I think ruby and fuchsite, unikite, would be great for this. I think ruby and fuchsite is a great one for, I love this for kind of arguments and inviting in a sense of compassion. I understand where you're coming from, or I am moving towards understanding. I am committed to trying my best to understand where you're coming from. That's the kind of energy I get from ruby and fuchsite. And I think this can be a great one for this sense of competition. So we're just going to be moving here through the third eye and the throat, connecting these areas. This is a sort of sea green colored stone with white and little almost bubbles of ruby, pinky ruby. I love the look of this stone. I think the colors are really nice together. But I think it can be a great stone. Maybe you can't see it very well up close, but I think it can be a great stone, even for just reminding us that we took that vow. I vow to do my best to see the humanity in the other person, even if during like a competition they're like running at you like a wild animal. Just seeing, okay, we are in a heightened state right now. We're in a heightened state. Fear is natural in this state. I don't need to be ashamed of that fear. I don't need to feel bad about that fear. I don't need to, we can kind of leave judgment at the door, but just recognize that this is a heightened state and do our best to continue to see the humanity in someone else. Even if it's not so much, it's not that clear. Maybe it's a more subtle sense of competition. And just still recognizing, there might be places here where I am making assumptions about what this individual is saying or thinking about me. So just connecting with your experience and just remembering that the other is also having their own experience. And we can never know what that is. We can do our best to have empathy and compassion for the other. It's not easy. And sometimes this can be helpful if we're working competitively with a team, and it's not just you against someone. It's a very common situation where you'll have a team and it's, your team against another team, or your team together trying to solve a problem, following along the lines of a common goal, a common objective. So this is sort of, even though there might be a state of competition, who's going to have the best answer, who's going to come up with the best idea, who's going to be the most prepared, bring the best to the table, who's the smartest or the funniest in a group, or the most capable of, doing whatever it is that needs to be done here. And instead recognizing, oh wow, this person is really good at that. This person is really good at this. I'm really good at this. And recognizing how cool it is. We can just kind of lift up outside of ourselves for a little bit. Kind of do our best to recognize that feeling of being threatened. We can just sort of be aware that that's there. See if we can kind of rise above that a little bit. And sort of see the truth of the situation. We all perform differently in a competitive environment. And that's okay. And you are there for a reason. And if you are feeling really down about yourself, or like you're not bringing much to the table, go back to those pillars of truth and really connect with what you do offer, what you have to offer, what you have done, and just that you're so deserving of being there. And if you feel like you're new in a place, or there's a lot of, I know if you feel you've started a new job, some of which seem competitive, and if that's the case, really try your best to remind yourself that there's a reason that you're there. And also that from a spiritual perspective, there's a reason you were interested to do this. There's a reason you were called to do this. So there's something in you that lies within you that is going to offer something, as long as you are resonating with your highest self, speaking with your authentic voice and showing up. There's something great that you have to offer, always. And also, there could be something great for you to learn. So if you're feeling a little out of your depth, and that's kind of triggering a feeling of threat or fear, then that can really be a great opportunity for you to start connecting with humility and recognizing how many potential mentors you have in front of you, and really recognizing some of the things that you might want to learn from these other people. It can be a great way of maybe not eliminating, but kind of mitigating and ascending a sense of competition or jealousy. And at the end of the day, recognizing that, as always, the process that's really what matters. I think the process. I think it's in the playing that we find joy. Like receiving a trophy is so fleeting, it's so ephemeral. It's in the process, in the act of moving through something and doing that, I love watching Gardener's World and Beth Chatto, the Right Plant, Right Place gardener from the UK. She such an inspiring person, written so many gardening books and things like that, Beth Chatto. But she was talking about being interviewed, and she was talking about how it's not she's received all these awards, and just her life has just been filled with accolades. She's like, it's nice, but that doesn't make me wake up in the morning. It's not in the achievement, but rather in the achieving. So I like that as just a reminder that even someone who's kind of, I think, received the most amount of awards that you can receive for gardening and in the horticulture realm, and even she looks back at her life and kind of sometimes forgets the awards that she has won. She's since passed away, but at the time of this interview, I think there were a few awards that she couldn't even remember having won, and she just says it's not in the achievements, but rather in the achieving. And so that's just a nice reminder. But I hope that you are able to find a sense of enjoyment regardless of the end result. I'll place this stone here, and now we're going to move through with this fluorite. This is an indigo fluorite. I think most competitions require a lot of focus, and this is a great stone for focus. Most fluorites are great for focus. Indigo fluorite, I think, specifically is great. Focus, mental agility. Very often this competition, the spirit of competition, requires a lot of mental agility. Oh, this happened, now we have to either move this way or this way. And I love all of that. I think that's great fun. And there's so many ways we can engage with that. I would also recommend practicing if you feel really unbalanced when it comes to competition. Like, it makes you angry when you lose, or it makes you feel really depressed if you lose, or if you're not doing as well as you want to be doing in a work environment or anything like that. And if you're feeling really like a low vibration, really not feeling good, then I would say maybe step back from competition if you're able to. If it's not a career thing, step back from competition for a little bit and slowly build your way up. Now, if you've made commitments to a team, I can understand that might be hard. Maybe talk to somebody who started the team and kind of be like, I'm feeling a little bit, I've been feeling kind of more competitive, and more aware of how competitive I am. And just kind of maybe expressing yourself to someone you trust that's going to validate you. That could be really helpful. Or just practice little kind of competitive things in your daily life and see if you can kind of release them. I think also practicing things like temporary artwork could be helpful for you. Building a sandcastle if you live near the sea or a sandy lake or something. And just letting it wash away so that we're not so much attaching to the results. Drawing with chalk is another great way of engaging with temporary art. That, or drawing in this dirt with a stick or something. Building a little stick hut or something like that. Just engaging in some way or another with temporary artwork could be really helpful for you. You can get a little, there are these like markers for kids and showers and stuff. You can get something like that and just kind of doodle in the shower. And just let the water kind of wash it away, just as a reminder that it's in the process. It's in the process. Engage in competition maybe with kids, and it can be maybe a nice way to release that competitive edge. And it could be that you're feeling more competitive because of the people that you're engaging with specifically. And I think that's when really aligning beforehand can be helpful. And that's helpful if you're dealing with difficult people in general, is just kind of making sure you're really grounded, really aligned, and that you can be really focused in this space. Focus. Remember all of these things that we're kind of trying to heal, kind of come back to those whenever you feel triggered. Coming back, returning to that. Great. I have 2 more stones that I'd like to use. This is a turquoise, and this is for physical healing. I love using turquoise for physical healing. If there's anything that you're engaging in that's physical, if there's anything that you're engaging in that's kind of causing some stress that's manifesting itself in like physical tension, this is, I think, a great stone for that. Some turquoise. I just have this little baby piece. And then I wanted to invite in some beautiful howlite. Great stone for relaxation, stress reduction, all of that. And so we're just going to move these through just to try to heal any physical stuff, release any physical tension, and then try to invite in a sense of relaxation, a sense of peace. Howlite is a great one if you struggle with feeling anxious. I think chronic anxiety can really be benefited by carrying around a piece of howlite and really trying your best to connect with that energy. Obviously, in addition to all of your mental health care practice and all of that, making sure that you're seeing a medical professional for your mental health and for your physical health as well, but both of these stones just to support that work that you're also doing. Gorgeous. I'm going to place these 2 stones right outside of your hips here. So gorgeous. You are divine. You are connected. You are expressive. You are loved. You are strong. You are emotionally balanced. You are creative. You are safe. You are grounded. So whether or not you are playing fantasy football, or you've been feeling really competitive with a friend, or whether you are having, a dancer or performer, musician, writer, artist, some kind of, graphic designer, creative kind of endeavor that you're embarking upon, whatever it might be. If you have a competitive family, if you have a competitive partner, if you have a competitive friends or siblings or children or parents, then I really hope that this session just reminds you of a place to put that energy, that it doesn't have to be all-consuming, that if it feels all-consuming, just a reminder that it's actually not. So much of your life is spent not engaging in that kind of high-octane competition. So much of your life is not involving that, and you can just have a place for it. If it serves you, you can have a place for it. And if you're moving through that in a career, competitive energy in general, or through social media and whatever way you're dealing with it, this is just a reminder that you are so worthy and wonderful just as you are. You're bringing so much to the table just exactly as you are. And whatever competition you're engaging in, they are so lucky to have you. And you know what? You're lucky to be there too. So we're just trying to find a balance here. And just know that I'm sending you so much love. And I'd love to hear in what way this resonates with you, if at all. I'm sure there are many other forms of competition that we haven't talked about. Those are just the ones that I tried to remember from comments that you all shared of things that you're moving through, from the comment that was requested through the message on Patreon, and also through just little things that I've encountered in my life, and then in, through talking to friends and stuff, or in sessions with clients. So hopefully you were able to feel like you were included in some way. But I'd love to know, regardless, what you're moving through. And just know that I'm sending you so much love and support wherever you are on your journey. And I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day or night. Okay, my friend. Until we see each other again, be so well. Can you come up on the pillow? She just wants cuddles. Come on, Mama. For today's video, I just wanted to do a little chakra activation. And just doing a little bit of balancing and aligning. But this is a new kind of video for me. I usually speak directly to the collective instead of the individual, so that always happens when I'm trying to do it like a perspective. Maybe your perspective on things is a little clouded at the moment. I'm not sure if that resonates with you, but that's what I'm getting here. I love metallic sounds. There's like clicky clacky sounds, but it does have kind of a funny smell. I'm not gonna lie, when I first used it I was like, what is that? But amethyst is a really great spiritually aligned stone. It can help with clarity, mental fog, really helps us see soberly. Invite some more mindfulness and some of this energy work that we've been engaging in.